Okay, let's get started, shall we? All right. Hey, my sound is actually working tonight. The camera. Okay, there we go. All right, so ready for chapters 6 and 7 of Annihilation. Excuse me. Okay, chapter 6. This is an outrage, Darth Ravage exclaimed. Malgus was a traitor who tried to usurp the Emperor's throne. Now you expect us to grant his apprentice a seat on the Dark Council? Darth Marr, senior-ranking member of the Dark Council, refused to respond in kind to Ravage's aggressive outburst. Instead, he carefully gauged the reactions of the 6 other members who had gathered in the meeting chamber deep inside the Emperor's citadel on Droman Kaas. Unlike Ravage, they remained calm, though from their expressions it was clear they shared his reservations. No one of us can make demands on the others, Mar assured them, but I will remind you that Darth Carid turned her back on Malgus when he turned his back on us, and Darth Hadra's untimely demise has left the sphere of technology vacant. All I'm asking is that you consider her as a candidate for the position. She's a Falleen, Darth Mortis objected. Darth Rictus, the oldest member of the council, nodded to show he shared Mortis's opinion. Mar fought back to the urge to rail against their bigotry. Malgus had overreached when he tried to proclaim himself the new emperor, but he was right about one thing. If the Empire wanted to defeat the Republic, they could no longer cling to their overt prejudice against lesser species. That's an interesting way to put it. Keeping entire worlds subjugated put too great a strain on Imperial military resources. It was far more efficient to try and enlist them as willing allies in the war against the Republic. I don't know what's got me coughing tonight. But Mar knew arguments would only push the already fragile Dark Council toward a complete schism. Now was not the time for infighting. The Republic had them in retreat across the galaxy. A united front was their only hope of survival. Defense of the Empire was his official sphere of influence, so it fell to him to bridge the divides among his fellow council members. Our, our numbers dwindle, Mar reminded them. We need allies. Elevating a Falleen to the council shows other species that there is a place for them in our empire. Perhaps the problem is that the other species have forgotten their proper place, Mortis replied. Well played, Mortis. Darth Vowron chimed in, letting his words hang in the air for a dramatic moment, before adding, Yet we should not dismiss Darth Carid so quickly. Mar had been hoping for Vowron's support, a pure-blooded Sith who reveled in the courtly intrigue, sly politics, and unbridled hedonism of the imperial nobility. He was also responsible for the production and logistics sphere of influence. He knew numbers better than anyone. The Republic had more soldiers, more resources, and more allies than the Empire, and if the Empire couldn't recruit more worlds to its side, it was going to lose. Darth Carid has proven himself quite valuable to our herself. Sorry, Darth Carid has proven herself quite valuable to our war effort. Vowron reminded them all. Without her situation, well, wow, I'm stumbling a lot. I apologize. Without her, our situation would be untenable rather than just precarious. Darth Ravage grunted, unconvinced. You're giving the credit to her when we all know it should really go to the ship. Any one of us could have her success if we controlled the Ascendant Spear. And therein lies the problem, Vowron continued. We don't control it. She does. And I doubt she'll hand it over to you just because you ask. The ship is part of the equation, Mar admitted. Darth Mekis controlled the technology sphere when she developed the Ascendant Spear. There is some logic in giving the portfolio to the one who now controls the last of her creations. Are you scared of her? Darth Rictus asked, ending the question with a gleeful cackle. Mar ignored the question, refusing to rise to the old man's bait. I'm willing to consider other candidates for the seat, he continued, if any of you has a worthy suggestion. Darth Gravis, Mortis offered, and there was a general murmur of assent from the rest of the group. Inwardly, Mar cringed. It wasn't that Gravis wasn't suitable for the position. The Dark Lord had proven his worth by successfully undermining the Republic campaign to restore the devastated world of Taurus, but Gravis was a link to the old ways. Ambitious and ruthless, he had earned many influential allies in the upper echelons of Imperial society, and just as many enemies. Bringing him into the Council would open the door for more infighting, as old grudges would be rekindled, and it would do nothing to convince other species to join the Imperial cause. Worst of all, his selection was sure to anger Darth Carid. Fortunately, Gravis's victory on Taurus had been overshadowed when his fleets lost control of the mineral-rich world of Lerator, a costly setback for the Empire. Gravis failed to keep the Republic at bay in the mid-rim, he reminded them. He has fallen back to Bothaway to regroup, Mortis replied. Soon he will launch a counteroffensive and reclaim Lerator for the Empire. If he is successful, then I can see no reason to oppose him as a candidate, Mar grudgingly admitted. Then we are all in agreement, Mortis pushed. Once Lerator is back under Imperial control, Gravis should be given a seat on the Dark Council and control over the technology sphere. Mar spoke quickly before anyone else could interject. I said I wouldn't oppose Gravis as a candidate, he said, his voice firm. He should be considered, as should Carid. We should take some time to think about both candidates before we make a final decision. Once again, we are all humbled by your wisdom, Darth Mar, Vowron said, his voice hovering on the line between sincerity and mockery. I propose we adjourn this meeting so we can all ponder this very important decision. As the members of the Dark Council left the room, Mar could only imagine how Darth Carid would react when she heard the news. He decided it would be best if he told her himself. It took less than 20 minutes for Mar's private shuttle to whisk him away from the Citadel to the private landing pad at his personal stronghold on the outskirts of Koth City. An honor guard of half a dozen Imperial soldiers in full armor stood smartly at attention as he strode down the boarding ramp, and a pair of bowing servants dressed in his personal colors opened the massive doors leading from the landing pad to the interior chambers. Oh, it says we're going into an ad. I'll believe it when I see it. Part domicile, part fortress, the stronghold's halls were busy with household staff and military personnel scurrying to and fro, each tending to their respective duties. They bowed or saluted appropriately as Mar passed, his long strides taking him directly to the communications room. Put me in contact with Darth Carid, he told the officer in charge. At once, my lord, she told him, then barked out a quick series of orders to her three-person staff. Mar would have preferred to deliver the details of the Dark Council's meeting to Carid in person, but time was of the essence. He wanted to speak with her before she heard the whispers and rumors of what had happened so he could mitigate her reaction. The Ascendant Spear has received our signal, Darth Mar, the officer confirmed. Decryption may take a few seconds. Mar nodded, knowing there was no possible... Oh, now we're in an ad. Okay. I don't know why there's such a long break between it saying we're going into an ad and it actually starting. I haven't quite figured that timing out. I need to actually time it. but I always forget to. Okay, so we were right. Mar nodded. Okay. We'll pick up there in just about 15 seconds. Okay, 5 more seconds. And we'll get back to it. All right, there we go. Mar nodded, knowing there was no possible way of any of the other members of the council or anyone from the Republic. What? There was no possible way any of the other members of the council, or anyone from the Republic could overhear what was about to be said. Even if they somehow intercepted the signal he was transmitting, it would be impossible to decode without a black cipher, the Empire's encryption device. Developed by Imperial intelligence before their organization collapsed, the black ciphers were the most advanced encryption machines ever devised. Apart from the ones installed on the Empire's 15 largest capital ships, including the Ascendant Spear, there were only 2 others, one in the office of the Imperial Minister of Logistics and one in Darth Mar's possession. The holo image flickered and materialized before him as the cipher unscrambled the incoming return signal to reveal Darth Carad. Her bright emerald skin and long black hair came, some gathered in a top knot, some flowing down her back, were muted by the blue-tinged holosignal. She had high, prominent cheekbones, a flawless complexion, and a sharp, well-proportioned nose and chin, but there was a vaguely disconcerting reptilian hint to her exotic features, particularly around her cold, dead eyes, and in Carad's case, the exquisite symmetrical perfection so common to her species was marred by the prominent tattoos and cybernetic implants that completely covered the left side of her face. "Darth Mar," she said by way of greeting, "I was expecting your call." From the holo, Mar recognized that she had relayed his incoming signal to the seclusion of her private command pod deep inside the Ascendant Spear, the complex network of biomechanical interfaces that allowed Carad to become one with Darth Mekis's marvelous warship framed her image. Dozens of long, thin wires snaking out from the walls and ceiling and into the back of Carad's neck and skull. "Leave us," Mar commanded, and the communications officer and her staff vanished from the room. "You spoke with the other members of the Dark Council?" Carad asked once they were alone. "The ones that matter," Mar said. "And what was their reaction?" "They agreed that you are a strong candidate," Mar said, choosing his words carefully, "but there are some who expressed concerns." "Who?" Carad demanded, her face twisting in anger. "Ravage? That old fool Rictus?" "It doesn't matter," Mar explained. "The Council must reach a consensus to bring in a new member." "Is it because I'm Faline?" "There are other concerns," Mar said, evading the question. "You were Malgus's apprentice for many years. His actions will always color your reputation." "Malgus was a traitor," Carad spat out, her bright green skin taking on a reddish hue, reflecting her heightened emotional state. "But I have done more to support the Imperial war effort than anyone." "Those of us who have dedicated our lives in the service of the Dark Council might disagree," Mar replied coldly. "I meant no disrespect, Darth Mar," Carad said, her voice slipping into a seductive purr. Mar knew her reaction was instinctual. The Faline had evolved overtly sensual mannerisms as a survival mechanism for the species. Mar was smart enough to recognize and dismiss the subtle feelings of arousal her voice triggered in him, but individuals of most humanoid species found it hard to resist the Faline charms. "I have proven my loyalty to the Empire countless times," Carad continued, pleading her case. "I did not think the Council would simply cast me aside." "You have not been cast aside," he assured her. "You are still a candidate, but there are others." "Who?" Mar hesitated, then decided she would eventually find out anyway. "Darth Gravis." "Gravis?" she hissed. "So Mortis is behind this. He and Gravis are thick as thieves." "Mortis supports Gravis," Mar admitted, "but so do many other members of the Council. His work on Taurus shows that he would do well in charge of the technology sphere. The Empire claims to be a meritocracy, Carid said. We punish failure and reward success. I have only victories to my name, but Gravis lost Lerator to the Republic. How can the Council prefer him over me? Gravis is planning to recapture Lerator, Mar said. But even if he succeeds, the decision is not final, he added, hoping to mollify her. You will both be considered for the position. So there is still a chance, Carid replied, seizing on the thin strand of hope. She brought a delicate hand up to her lips as she contemplated the possibility of victory. Assuming he can defeat the Republic fleet over Lerator, most of the Council will probably support Gravis, Mar continued, not wanting her to get her hopes too high, only to have them dashed. And what about you, Mar? She asked, her voice slipping once more into the seductive purr. I would prefer the position go to you, Mar assured her. In the long run, you can be of more value to the Empire than Gravis, but I will not risk tearing the Dark Council apart by challenging the others if they back him. So you'll not fight for me? We must choose our battles wisely, he reminded her. Sometimes it is better to be patient. I have been patient, she answered, her expression a sensual pout. There are other seats on the council, other spheres of influence that need to be filled. Gravis may be the leading candidate, but you are next in line. There was a long pause before Carid nodded her acceptance. I understand, Darthmar. Even though we are allies, I cannot expect you to fight this battle on my behalf. Mar felt a great sense of relief, though he was careful not to show his reaction. Part of him had feared Carid might react with blind rage at being passed over. If she turned against the Empire, the Ascendant Spear would cripple the Imperial fleet, paving the way for a quick and certain Republic victory in the war. Your time will come, Mar assured her. It is inevitable. At least we agree on something, she said with a smile. And that's actually the end of that chapter. It was a quick one. So I'll jump straight on into chapter 7. Theron punched the comlink of his small shuttle, opening a hailing frequency with the control tower at one of the hundreds of spaceports on Coruscant's surface. This is Sojourner, requesting landing clearance. Copy that, Sojourner. Transmit ship registration for authentication. Transmitting. There was a longer pause than usual on the other end of the comlink before the voice replied. Sojourner, you need to reroute to another spaceport. Sending coordinates now. Theron didn't bother to protest. He knew what was going on. Guess I should have called the director after that mess on Narshada. Understood, he said, not bothering to look at the new coordinates. He already knew exactly where they would order him to go. A security escort is awaiting your arrival, the tower added. I bet they are, he answered, disconnecting the call. As he brought the ship into land, Theron noticed two men wearing Coruscant security force uniforms standing by a waiting speeder. He doubted they were actually part of the official planet-wide security force. The director wouldn't involve a civilian organization unless he had to, and it was common for SIS personnel to adopt the uniforms of local authorities when they were expecting trouble but wanted to avoid drawing extra attention. Theron Shan, one of the men said as he climbed out of his shuttle. What if I say no? Don't cause any trouble, the other warned. The director's not in the mood. Theron briefly thought about making a move. It wasn't that he was actually worried about what the director had planned, but he was eager to test himself against the two agents sent to bring him in. But in the end, he realized he was being foolish. The agents were just following orders. No need to hurt somebody. We're all on the same side here, he assured them. The ride to SIS headquarters was conducted in complete silence. Theron's escorts appeared calm and relaxed, but he could tell they were watching him closely the entire way. Upon landing, they led him into the building, one marching in front of him, the other behind. They didn't break formation until they reached the director's office. One of the men reached out and pressed the buzzer on the door. In response, it slid open and the director called out, I'll take it from here. Theron gave each of the guards a cheery wave and stepped into the room. As the door slid shut behind him, the director looked up from behind his desk and shook his head. Care to tell me why I shouldn't have you court-martialed for physically assaulting a fellow agent? That hook came at me first, Theron reminded him. I was just minding my own business on Narshada when he pressed that knife up against my back. How am I supposed to know he was one of ours? A review board might buy that, the director admitted, until they remember the part where I ordered you to get off Narshada. I just thought you were being overprotective, Theron protested. I would have taken you a little more seriously if I'd known you were in the middle of a... Oops. In the middle of a mission, but you didn't really explain the situation. I don't have to explain things, the director snapped. I'm the boss, remember? I give you an order and you follow it. Theron shifted uncomfortably in his seat. At least I managed to rescue the prisoners, but you did it in a way that compromised the entire operation. You think this is the first time Morbo's auctioned off our people? We've been watching him for months, tracking his suppliers and marking his buyers, slowly putting together all the bits and pieces of the entire operation. Operation Transom wasn't about rescuing for Cathar. It was about putting an end to the whole POW slave trade. Come on, Director, Theron replied, raising an incredulous eyebrow. We both know that would never happen. Even if you shut down everyone Morbo ever dealt with, someone else would just step in to take his place. Maybe so, the director conceded, but at least we'd slow them down for a while, maybe make the traffic dry up. Morbo and everyone else at that auction thinks the explosion at the spaceport was something to do with selling POWs, Theron countered. They're not going to start chasing after fresh meat anytime soon. I heard there were casualties, the director said. 4 dead, Theron admitted. 3 were hired assassins, kind of asking for it if you go into that line of work. The 4th was a low-level thug working for the old Tion Brotherhood. I looked into him. He won't be missed. So Tefeth made it out okay? More or less. Then I guess it's all worth it in your book, the director said. Did she have any idea you were there? I don't think so. With all the times you've helped her out, she can't be that bright if she hasn't noticed you by now. Theron smiled. Maybe I'm just that good. I still think you should let her know that she's in your debt. Might make her more likely to help us out down the road. That's not how Tefeth's mind works, Theron said, shaking his head. She's complicated. The director got up from behind his desk and came around to the other side, crossing his arms as he sat on the edge. Theron, she's become more trouble than she's worth, the director told him. It was bad enough when all you were doing was chewing up your vacation days to help her out. Now it's interfering with ongoing SIS missions. I can't allow that. I know you think this is just some crazy obsession, Theron told him, but down the road this is going to pay off. Sooner or later SIS is going to need her help. How do you know that? Is that you talking, or Nagani Zhou? You having visions through the Force now? The word stung, but Theron wasn't going to back down. Master Zhou used to tell me that what most people call gut instinct is really just the Force reaching out to us. He said we'd be better off if we listened to it more often, and I have a feeling about Tefeth. And I've got a feeling about you, the director said. A bad feeling. He turned away and went back to sit behind his desk. He took a deep breath and let it out in a long, slow sigh. Then he reached out with his hands and placed them on the top of his desk, fingers spread wide as if bracing himself for what he was about to say. Theron, I'm transferring you to the analytics department, effective immediately. Analytics? Theron exclaimed in disbelief. You trying to turn me into some kind of number-crunching desk jockey? I can't just ignore what happened on Narshada, the director said. You're a good agent, and I want to keep you in the fold, but you have to learn that your actions have consequences. Besides, he added, it's good to have experience in other departments. I think a 3-month stretch with analytics will make you a more rounded agent. I'm plenty rounded already, Theron said. You need a break from field work, the director insisted. Since you can't seem to stay out of trouble, even when you're supposed to be on vacation, this is the only option I have left. I'm not cut out for office work, Theron said. You've seen my personnel profile. Our evaluations say you're highly intelligent, intuitive, and adaptable. I think you'll fit in just fine. Theron chewed his lip in angry silence before saying, What if I resign? You won't, the director countered. You care too much about the Republic to simply abandon the cause. I could go work for the military, he threatened. Saluting superior officers, following orders, barking out, Sir, yes, sir, 20 times a day? Right. Fine then, Theron said. I'll just put in for the rest of my vacation time. Request denied, the director answered. Got a special project in the works by order of the Republic's Supreme Command. All hands on board. Nothing personal. Theron sighed and bowed his head in defeat. You start tomorrow morning, the director continued. Analytics is on the 3rd floor. Do I need to send another escort to make sure you show up? I'll be there, Theron promised, but I won't be happy about it. Give analytics a chance, the director suggested. They do important work, and we really are working on a special assignment for Jace Malcolm. We're calling it Operation Endgame. Trust me, Theron, he added. You want to be a part of this. And that is the end of that chapter. So, let me see how long the next chapter is. I might just do another one. No, I don't think my voice will hold out that long. It's longer than both of the others that I read tonight combined. So, we'll leave it off there. And, yeah, I'm not going to rate anybody tonight. I'm just going to call it. So, I will see you all tomorrow night for some more Plato. Have a good night.
Feeling shattered skies, watching teary blue eyes, wonder where I might find some peace of mind. Not lights like I've had, but more sophisticated into love relations. I'm disassembling my own heart, 'cause my mind's a million places. I'm giving up. So it's in my head. Just tell me it's not happening. Tell me it's not happening. Surrender myself. I feel the world collapsing, but not lights like I've had, but more sophisticated into love relations. Now disassembling my own heart, 'cause my mind's a million places. I'm giving up. So it's in my head. Just tell me it's not happening. Tell me